Welcome to Birds of a Feather. My name is Nathan Stroud. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast, and today is going to be a little bit longer of an episode than normal. It's Mock Draft Monday, so we're going to be doing a full first-round mock draft for the NFL Draft happening at the end of April, and it's going to be the first of a few mock drafts. Again, we're going to be doing this every Monday leading up to April 24th, and then on April 24th, I'm going to be doing a live stream of the draft. Not obviously going to be streaming the draft, but we're going to be streaming my reactions and everything like that. It's going to be a lot of fun, but also we're going to be going over the Orioles win over the Boston Red Sox. That game just ended about 30 minutes ago, and yeah, the Orioles won their home opener, and we're going to be giving thoughts, reactions, opinions, and all that going over the game. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Starting off with this Orioles win. The Orioles win 8-5 over the Boston Red Sox. The offense went out, put on a show today. They did not hit a home run, and neither did the Red Sox, so no home runs were hit in this game. But 8 runs for the Orioles, 5 runs for the Red Sox. The Orioles get a nice win in their home opener at Camden Yards. Orioles score 8 runs, 3-2 on the season, 15 hits. Again, no home runs, 15 hits, 8 runs scored. Go down to the runners in scoring position, 6 for 15. They had a lot of opportunities for runners in scoring position. 6 for 15 isn't the worst thing in the world. They left 6 on base. Not bad at all. And if we start from the top here, we got Jordan Westburg leading off because of the Colton Cowser injury. We'll get more onto that in just a second. But the Jordan Westburg, 1 for 4. Adley Rutschman, 1 for 5. Tyler O'Neill, and this is who we're going to have to talk about today, because this man, he has been an absolute unit for the Orioles so far this year. Tyler O'Neill once again goes perfect in a game. Again, you go back to the first game of the year. He went 3 for 3 with 2 walks. Today he goes 4 for 4, 2 runs and an RBI. His batting average is up to a .571 on the season. And Tyler O'Neill did this at the beginning of the year last year for the Red Sox. I know last year for the Red Sox he started off the year very, very, very hot. And he's doing the same thing this year in Baltimore. 4 for 4, 2 runs, an RBI. A great start to the year for Tyler O'Neill. This is what you'd like to see. Again, we got him to be the Anthony Santander replacement, and he is serving very well in that matter. Ryan Mountcastle, 2 for 3, 2 runs, has an RBI, also gets a walk. Heston Kjerstad gets the start, 1 for 4 with an RBI. Jorge Mateo comes in as a pinch runner. He does end up scoring the run. Ramon Laureano, 0 for 2. Dylan Carlson, 0 for 1, but does score a run and get a walk. Cedric Mullins, 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Ramon Urias, 2 for 4. And Jackson Holiday, 2 for 4. You'd love to see that at the bottom of the order. The 7-8-9. Cedric Mullins, 2 for 4. Ramon Urias, 2 for 4. Jackson Holiday, 2 for 4. You'd love to see that near the bottom of the order. And going over to the pitching real quick, Cade Povich got the start today in the home opener. Again, Cade Povich is the 5 guy to start off the year, so the Orioles have a day off tomorrow, and then on Wednesday it's going to be back to Zach Eflin getting the start, and then I think Garrett Crochet also gets the start for Boston. But Cade Povich goes 4.1 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. That is the most strikeouts in a game by an Oriole pitcher this year. You'd love to see that. 8 strikeouts for Cade Povich. Last year, in the starts that he did have, he struggled a little bit with getting strikeouts. He was more of a ground ball guy. But today, he went out there. He got a lot of swings and misses. He got 8 strikeouts. A lot of people were chasing. A lot of whiffs today. 8 strikeouts for Cade Povich. You'd love to see that. His pitch count got up to a 94 in 4.1 innings, so you'd love to see the pitch count go down a little bit with only pitching that many innings. He wasn't able to go that long in the game, but 4.1 innings, 8 strikeouts, that isn't bad at all. Did only give up the 3 runs, which isn't bad. Again, not bad at all. You like to see that from Cade. This is very encouraging stuff for him. Again, you would love to see him go 5 or 6 innings in the game, but not bad by Cade. We did have to go to the bullpen a little bit early. Matt Bowman, once again, he has been great this year for the Orioles. Only goes 0.2 innings today, gives up a hit, also gets a strikeout. Sir Anthony Dominguez gets the win on the day. 1 inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, and a strikeout. You'd love to see that by Sir Anthony. Keegan Aiken, 1 inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 2 strikeouts. Yennier Cano, 1 inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, and a strikeout. And then Felix Bautista closed out the game. He didn't obviously get the save because it wasn't a save scenario for him. But Felix Bautista, with his second appearance of the year, he did struggle a little bit. It was a little bit scary, but again, it has almost been 600 days since he has pitched. He pitched the other day, but really, this is his second game back off of his rehab. But yeah, Felix Bautista, 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts, and a 26 pitch count. He pitched a lot in the 9th inning. You would love to see him maybe not pitch that much, but anyway, Felix Bautista did struggle a little bit. Off to a little bit of a slow start, a 9 ERA in his first 2 appearances. Not amazing by Felix. He had a really good pitch that got called a ball that should have been called a strike. But anyway, Felix, not horrible. Wasn't a little bit of a scary scenario, but he wasn't in necessarily a high leverage situation. He was going into that last inning with a 5-run lead, so he did have that cushion. Did give up 2 runs, but did end up closing out the game for us off of a pop-up by Alex Bregman. And Orioles get a great win. They don't play tomorrow, but they do play on Wednesday, and it's going back up to the top of the rotation. So Zach Eflin's pitching tomorrow, and Garrett Crochet's pitching tomorrow for the Red Sox. So again, it's going to be a big game. Both teams got their best pitchers on the mound. We'll see what happens. Orioles get the day off tomorrow. I would say maybe a much-needed day off. They've played every day of the season so far. They played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday. And, Orioles get a great win, 3-2 on the season. And some more things I want to talk about with the Orioles was this morning it was announced that Colton Cowser was going to be going to the 15-day IL list. And initially it was, okay, he's going to the 15-day IL. Because yesterday he did fracture his thumb while he was sliding into first, and he's going on to the 15-day IL. Initially, you think, okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe he's going to be out for maybe a couple weeks and will be okay. But then it was announced just like a couple hours later that Colton Cowser was actually going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks, which, as y'all know, is over 2 months or almost 2 months, could be. We'll see how long he is out for. They said at least 6 to 8 weeks, so he's going to be out of action for at least 2 months, which isn't great to hear. Obviously, Colton Cowser, one of the young stars of this team, and this team is already dealing with the injury bug going into the year. Obviously, they don't have Gunnar Henderson. They don't have Grayson Rodriguez. They don't have Kyle Bradish. They don't have Andrew Kittredge. So this team is dealing with the injury bug already going into the year, and now you lose your starting left fielder, you lost your starting shortstop. But the good thing is that Gunnar should be coming back later this week after his rehab starts in Norfolk, so that'll be good. Again, this team is going to need Gunnar to play at its full potential. But losing Colton, obviously not great. That means you're going to be forced to run with Laureano or Heston or Dylan Carlson out there in left field. I think it's going to be Laureano is going to be the day-to-day guy, I would think, for now. But we'll see what happens. Again, Gunnar's going to come back later this week. The pitching injuries are still there. And something that this team needs to do to succeed long-term is just stay afloat. All this team's got to do is just stay afloat while these injuries happen. And then by the time it hits the trade deadline or in 2 months' time where hopefully you get Grayson back, hopefully Kyle Bradish is close to returning, and hopefully you get Colton Cowser back as well. So if you can get all those guys back relatively around the same time, again, you're going to get Gunnar back later this week or early next week or maybe sometime this weekend. But once you get all these guys back, all those guys are all going to play very big factors into this team. And all this team has got to do until then is just stay afloat. All they got to do is just find ways to pull out wins. They don't got to win by 10 runs. They don't got to win by 8 runs. They just got to find a way to pull out wins. And this is where we're going to really see the heart of this team. This team is down a lot of important players to start the year. And at least they're down at the beginning instead of at the end of the year where they'll be hopefully making a playoff push, which I expect them to be in the playoff conversation, obviously. They've made it the past 2 years. and this team has the talent to make it again. But these guys are down a lot of key players, and we're going to see how these guys can fight. So, again, this is where we're going to see the true heart of this team. Do they want it? If these guys can stay afloat and keep a positive record and have a good record by the time that we get these guys back, then this team will be in a great scenario. But my fear is that this team hopefully won't fall into a scenario where they start losing a bunch of games in a row and then they're not in the best position by the trade deadline or by the time that these guys come back. And then we're going to have to make a late season push, because I would rather have a comfortable lead early than obviously have to later in the year make a big push. You would obviously like to get those wins out of the way and feel comfortable. And I'm not saying that the Orioles are in a super horrible scenario right now. Obviously, the Orioles are 3-2 right now. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm very satisfied with the way that this team is playing, especially early on without some key players. But you look at a team like the Boston Red Sox that you just played today. They're 1-4 to start the year. This team had very, very, very high expectations, and I'm not saying that Boston is not going to be good. I think Boston is going to make the playoffs, obviously. Like Boston is extremely talented, but they've had some guys struggle. I mean, you look at Rafael Devers, who has like 16 or 17 strikeouts in the first 5 games of the year. Like that is, and I mean, that's your best offensive player, and he's playing like that. This team is just not playing up to its potential. The Red Sox just aren't playing great. They're 1-4. But again, and I'm going to keep saying this until it's not true, but it is still early in the year. I mean, there's still 157 games left of baseball. You're 5 games into the year. The Orioles are sitting at 3-2. On Wednesday they got a big matchup ahead of them, and we'll see what happens from there. But the Orioles are not in a bad spot right now. I'm happy with how things are going. They've again been very up and down. First game they score 12 runs, then they score 2, then they score 9, then they score 1, then they score 8. But a 15-hit day, you like to see the offense do what they do. In the first inning, the offense was firing. You got back-to-back-to-back-to-back hits from your guys. And then the offense didn't end up scoring until the 8th inning, where we ended up tagging on a bunch of runs because of Cedric Mullins. But the Orioles went up 4-0, and then the Red Sox came back and made it 4-2, and then they made it 4-3, and then it was 4-3 for a while. In the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th innings, it was 4-3. So it was a very close game. It was still anybody's game, a 1-run game. And then the Orioles put on the insurance runs in the 8th inning. They were up by 5 runs. Boston got 2 runs in the 9th inning, but it was already too late. Because, again, Felix Bautista was struggling a little bit. But things are going to be fine. You know, the O's are going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. You know, they are down a lot of key players. We'll see how that affects them in the games moving forward. But if they can stay afloat, if they can stay ahead, if they can just find ways to win these games, because every win right now is really going to matter for this team. When you're down all these key players and you're just trying to stay afloat, all these wins are going to matter. So I like the way that the Orioles are playing right now. Hopefully in this Red Sox series they can find some consistency with their offense and their pitching. I'm hoping that Zach Eflin can have a performance similar to what he did on opening day. And, I mean, yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Really excited about the Orioles. And, yeah. Now going over to the mock draft. This is going to be the first mock draft Monday of the year. And this is going to be the first of many. Not many, first of a few. I'm going to be doing this every Monday leading up to the draft. So how many Mondays is going to be that? Maybe 3 more Mondays after this. So, I mean, yeah, mock draft Monday. And we're just gonna get right into it. We're going to do the whole first round. We're going to do no trades. And we're just going to do, as of right now, as of 5:30 p.m. on the 31st of March in 2025. This is how I feel about the mock draft, and this is how I feel that it's going to go. So starting off with the first pick, I'm going to go with the pick that's really obvious right now, which is Cam Ward. Every indicator is pointing that Cam Ward is going to end up being a Titan. Everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen, Cam Ward is going to end up being a Titan. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the pick that I think I would go with. Initially, about like a month ago, I was very heavy on them going Abdul Carter, which I still think would be a really smart decision. But It looks like Tennessee's not going to want to wait on their quarterback. It looks like they just want to get their quarterback out of the way, get Brian Callahan their guy, and just move forward with what they got. So Cam Ward going to the Titans. I'm not going to say it's confirmed about, again, you have a little less than a month until the draft, and this is the time of the year, especially in April, like early to mid-April is when you really start to see picks kind of get solidified. Maybe not solidified, but like really get not necessarily confirmed, but they really start to make a lot of sense, and you start to hear a lot of reports about things happening, and like, yeah, this is probably the direction that this team is going to go, or yeah, this is what they're going to do. But again, a thing with the draft is there's a lot of smoke all the time. There's just smoke with a lot of teams. You know, there's reports like, okay, this team is interested in this player, and then they end up going to another player because they're trying to bait a team to trade up. And I mean, the draft is a very, very sneaky process, very, very fun thing to keep up with. And I mean, the draft is one of my favorite things every single year in sports, especially the NFL draft, just because they make it such a big deal, which I love. But yeah, Cam Ward going one of the Titans. I think this is a little obvious as it is right now. I think, again, a month ago, you could have gone with Cam Ward. You could have gone with Abdul Carter. You could have gone with Travis Hunter. But I think as it stands right now, I think Cam Ward is the pick. Going over to number 2. Now, the Browns pick is one of the most important picks of this draft when it comes to how the draft is going to fall. Now, I do obviously think that there's going to be trade-ups in this draft, but I'm not doing any trades for this mock draft. I'm just going to do it if there is no trades. So it is going to be a little bit different, obviously. But I think Cleveland at number 2, I mean, you go one of two things. You go out and get your quarterback. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson situation was a mess. So I think at number 2, you either go quarterback, you go Shedeur Sanders right here. Even if it's considered a reach, I think that they can go with Shedeur right here. Kind of just get your franchise guy and move forward and take a deep breath and just continue on. Or they go and get the best player available talent-wise, and then they try and maybe trade back up into the first round and get like a guy like Jackson Dart, or maybe even get Shedeur if he ends up falling. But for this mock draft and how it stands right now as we speak, I am going to go with Shedeur Sanders going to Cleveland. I think at the end of the day, quarterbacks are an extremely valuable position. And I think even if it's considered a reach for Cleveland to go Shedeur at 2, I think at the end of the day, franchise quarterbacks are the rock of your team. They're the heart of your team. And it's been a little bit since Cleveland has been able to truly trust a quarterback. Obviously, they trusted Deshaun Watson. That was a very big swing and miss. That did not work out at all. I think they go and get their guy in Shedeur Sanders. There's been a lot of connections with him to Cleveland. I think some of it has also been maybe smoke. There's been a lot of smoke saying that Cleveland might not like Shedeur. But at the end of the day, I think that this is the pick. And if this doesn't happen, then I think that they can maybe go Abdul Carter, and then they'll try and trade up and get a guy like Jackson Dart at the end of the first round, or maybe get Shedeur if they see him falling. But I'm just going to go with Shedeur right now. Browns get their franchise quarterback. And in a division full of great quarterbacks, obviously you have Lamar, you have Joe Burrow. Now you put Shedeur in that division, and you move forward from there. At number 3, you got the New York Giants. Now, the Giants are in a little bit of a weird scenario because they did sign Russell Wilson, which kind of spoiled the plans of them going quarterback. Now, I think that if Shedeur is available at 3, I still think it's in consideration, but I think that the chances of them getting Shedeur dropped dramatically after the Russell Wilson signing, because Russell Wilson was told and he assumes that he's going to be the starter for the whole year. And I don't think that he would have signed there would have signed with the Giants if they didn't tell him that he was going to be the starter. So I do think that the Giants will draft a quarterback somewhere in this draft. I just don't think that it'll be in the first round. I think that they could try and maybe get a Jackson Dart if they trade up. But the Giants sitting here at 3, again, they need a quarterback. They went through the whole Daniel Jones saga. They signed Jameis Winston. And then after they signed Jameis, I said, okay, you know what? They're going to go quarterback at 3. Then they signed Russell Wilson, and then you say, okay, maybe not. But the Giants sitting here at 3, I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is they're in a position right now where I don't think that they're going to reach on Jackson Dart at 3. I think that they would much rather try and trade up later in the first round or early second round to get him. So I think that what New York is going to do with this pick is they're going to sit here at 3, and they're going to go and take the best player on the board, and maybe not, in my opinion, the best player on the board, but they're going to take the most dynamic player on the board, and they're also going to take the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. And I say this because I think Abdul Carter could also go to New York, and I think that they would love to pair Abdul Carter up with Brian Burns, and then also have Dexter Lawrence up front, and just have a crazy good pass rush. But I think at the end of the day, the Giants are in need of receiver depth, and then they're also in need of corner help. And I think that they're going to let Travis Hunter go out there and play both, because I think that if you're an NFL team and you don't want Travis Hunter to try both, I think that that's just dumb. And I think that whoever ends up drafting Travis Hunter should let him go out there and just play both and see what happens. And if he's more comfortable at receiver, then play him more receiver and then have him play a little bit of corner. If he's more comfortable at corner, then have him play more corner and then have some packages and stuff ready for him at receiver. But the Giants do need help in both. So if Travis Hunter is going to be everything that he's panned out to be, and someone who can play a lot of both positions, which I don't know if he's going to be able to play a lot of both positions all the time, but I do think that he's going to be able to be very effective on both sides of the ball. I don't know like the snap split that whatever team is going to draft him. That's up to the team. I think whatever team drafts him has different plans for him. I know I saw something that if like the Browns drafted him, they would like guaranteed have him be more of a receiver than a corner. But the Giants need help in both. Obviously, you could pair Malik Neighbors with Travis Hunter. That would just be absolute. It would just be cinema. It would be cinema. They would sell tickets that way. But Travis Hunter, I think that they would have him play on both sides of the ball. I mean, I think any team should have him play both sides of the ball, obviously. But I think at the end of the day, I think he's going to play a little bit more corner than receiver. But I think that every team should have receiver packages like 15 to 20 formations for him on offense. And I think that he can be very effective on both. I think him, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, and Ashton Genty are the 3 guys or the 4 guys in this draft where, I mean, you look at them and like, yeah, these guys are elite. Like, these guys are freaks in nature, and these guys are going to change the game. And I think Travis Hunter is going to be everything that he's panned out to be. And I think that if you're a Giants fan, you cannot complain at picking Travis Hunter at 3. You get arguably the best player in the entire draft. You get the Heisman Trophy winner. And I think at the end of the day, all is going to be good for the Giants with picking Travis Hunter at 3. Going to number 4, I think that this pick is a little bit obvious right now. I think you could go one of 2 ways. I think you could go with the best player on the board in Abdul Carter. In my opinion, the best player in the draft. I think Abdul Carter is the best player in the draft. So you either go with Abdul Carter. Mike Vrabel gets his very big stud defensive guy. Again, we know Mike Vrabel. We know the mentality that he has. I think he would fall in love with Abdul Carter as a player. But I also think that they could go with a guy like Will Campbell on offense. I think that Will Campbell's in play. I also think Membu could also maybe be in play. Membu had an amazing pro day. He had an amazing combine. He skyrocketed up draft boards. And I think that Membu is in play. I think the main 2 guys that are in play here are Will Campbell and Abdul Carter. But at the end of the day, I think Mike Vrabel's want to go get his guy. They'll address O-line later on in the draft, and I think that they're going to go get this one-of-a-kind talent in Abdul Carter, an absolute stud, a guy who on day 1 I think can be an elite edge rusher. They bring New England that crazy edge rusher. Again, they got Milton Williams in free agency, and the Patriots have done so much in free agency, and they've spent a lot of money. But I mean, they had the opportunity to. Like, they had the most money going into free agency. They had a bunch of money. They got Milton. Obviously, they signed Stephon Diggs on offense. And I think that the Patriots can be a sneaky good team next year, especially if Drake May can perform well with Stephon Diggs and guys like Jalen Polk surrounding him and like Kendrick Bourne. We'll see what happens, but Abdul Carter going to the Patriots at 4. I like this pick a lot. I think, in my opinion, it's kind of like an obvious pick for them. But, I mean, the Patriots get an absolute steal at 4 and get Abdul Carter. Then at 5, you have Mason Graham going to the Jaguars. I think that this is a bread and butter pick. I think this is a pick where all throughout the offseason, all throughout the draft process, this has kind of been the obvious pick. Just makes a lot of sense. It also falls perfectly here. Guys like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter aren't going to fall down to 5 unless something crazy happens. But a guy like Mason Graham going to Jacksonville and beefing up the trenches on the D-line, it's going to work out a lot for them. It's going to work very well for them. And Mason Graham going to Jacksonville feels like the obvious pick. This has been the pick that really everyone's been doing. Makes too much sense. Coming in at number 6 is the Las Vegas Raiders. And this pick can go multiple different directions realistically, but I think that it's really down to one of two people. To be honest, I really think it's only one person, and that one person is going to be Ashton Genty. You look at the value of running back. You look how running back is valued. You look at how teams are often scolded and, called dumb for drafting a running back super high. But I think you also look at the value of the running back position after this year. I think you look at what Saquon Barkley did, and you look at especially what Saquon Barkley did, and Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs, and Joe Mixon, and guys like that who all changed teams this offseason and just elevated their team to a whole different level. And, again, and Saquon winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles just feeds this argument even more. That Eagles team was fed off of great defense in Saquon Barkley, and if the running back position can do you that much and they can win you that many games and they can be that valuable for you, then why is it a bad decision to draft a one-of-a-kind generational running back in Ashton Genty? This is the best running back prospect that we've seen since Saquon Barkley. And we know what Saquon Barkley just did this year. But Ashton Genty is an absolute dog. And Pete Carroll, he loves to run the football. Obviously, we know what happened in the Super Bowl. We know what happened in the Super Bowl with Marshawn Lynch. But Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. And I think that, and the reports have been saying that he absolutely loves Ashton Genty as a player. And, it just makes too much sense. You look at the Raiders running back room, it is completely bare bones dead. They signed Raheem Mostert, but that signing Raheem Mostert is not going to stop this team from drafting a guy like Ashton Genty. I think it's an absolutely slam dunk pick in an offense that definitely doesn't have the firepower. You have a guy like Jacoby Myers. They didn't really do much. They got Raheem Mostert, but they're going to go out and get their guy. They're going to go out and get Ashton Genty. I was thinking that maybe the other thing that they could do was maybe go to Torrey McMillan, maybe going out and getting their number one receiver. But, I think that Pete Carroll is going to want to lean on the run game, and I think Ashton Genty is just the guy to do it with. An absolutely generational running back, one of my favorite players in this draft. What he did at Boise State this year was amazing and insane. He led his team to the playoffs. Obviously, they lost to Penn State, but Ashton Genty is an amazing player. I think nobody is going to look at the Raiders differently for drafting this guy. You see how valuable the running back position is, and you go out and get the certified best running back in this draft and one of the best running back prospects we've seen in recent years, and this is just a slam dunk pick. Going over to the Jets at 7, and I'm gonna speed this up a little bit just because I don't want to be here for like 2 hours. But the Jets at 7, I think that this can be multiple things. I think that they could potentially go receiver and pair up Garrett Wilson with maybe a guy like Torrey McMillan. I think that they could go offensive line and get a guy like Will Campbell or Membu to protect Justin Fields. Or I think that they could go with another weapon that is going to control more of the inside of the field and also be a good blocker as well. And I think that that's what they're going to do. And I think that they're going to go with Tyler Warren at number 7. Tyler Warren, at the beginning of this draft process, he was, him going to the Colts was like bread and butter. It was good. It was nearly guaranteed to happen. But after his pro day, after his interviews, after his combine, he has skyrocketed up draft, but not maybe skyrocketed up draft boards, but he has gone very far up in draft boards. And I think that the Jets are going to want to get Justin Fields, that reliable safety blanket guy, while they also have Garrett Wilson on the outside. I think that they have Tyler Warren, that safety blanket guy, on the inside. He's gotten a lot of Gronk comparisons. And I think Tyler Warren just makes a lot of sense. Tyler Warren, the best tight end in this draft. I think that he has a lot of potential. I really like Tyler Warren as a player. I think he can be fantastic. And I think that just makes a lot of sense. You get Justin Fields another weapon. And yeah, and again, the Jets are in a division with the Bills, the Patriots. I mean, again, I think that the Jets can be competitive this year with Justin Fields. We'll see. They have talent. Getting Tyler Warren is just going to add to that. At number 8, we've got the Carolina Panthers, and I'm going to go with the pick that I have said all year. I don't know why he's listed as a linebacker here on Pro Football Focus, but I'm going to go with Jalen Walker. He is an edge. I don't know why he's still listed as a linebacker on here, but he is an edge. He's going to play more edge. He can play linebacker a little bit, but he's going to be used mainly as an edge. Jalen Walker, an absolute freak for Florida. He stood out so much among everyone else in that Florida defense. He just stood out more than everyone else. He was, like, the way that he played was just insane. And I think Jalen Walker to 8 makes a lot of sense. I think that the pick here is 100% going to be edge. And it's more of an opinion thing. I think Jalen Walker is the second best edge in this class behind Abdul Carter. But I think that this pick could also maybe be a guy like Mike Green, or maybe be a guy like James Pierce Jr., or maybe Michael Williams, or maybe Shamar Stewart, or any of those guys like that. You know, those are all the top edges here in this draft that are all going to go in the first round. I mean, maybe they might slip to the second round, who knows? But Jalen Walker, I think this is an easy pick. Jalen Walker to the Panthers at 8. Great pick, getting that Panthers defense their guy after losing Brian Burns, kind of trying to solidify that Panthers defense again, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. Now, the New Orleans Saints at number 9. This is an interesting pick because if the Jets don't go Tyler Warren here, I do think that the Saints could most definitely get him, but they did just re-sign their tight end, so I don't think that that's going to be the case maybe anymore. Who knows? But I think the Saints here, they have a bunch of different options. I think that they could go with an edge. I think that corner is also maybe in play. I think that edge is definitely in play, and I also think that offensive line is in play. Now, last year they got Fuaga, who wasn't bad for them at all. They have gone offensive line quite a bit here recently. You know, they got Cesar Ruiz, they got Fuaga. But I think that they're going to go offensive line again, and I think they're going to go with a guy who would at this point in the draft would be a steal, because I think that this guy is a top 5, top 6 talent in the draft. And I think that they're going to go with Will Campbell. He is a great player. There's been a lot of discussions and talks about his arm length and if he would rather, like, if he should play guard instead of tackle. I don't think that the arm length is going to be that big of a deal. He was an absolute stud in college. I don't think that the arm length is going to play a big factor. I think he's an amazing player, no matter how long his arms are. And yeah, Will Campbell at 9 makes a lot of sense. The LSU kid goes back to Louisiana and plays for the Saints. And, I mean, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Really like the pick. Great pick for the Saints. Great value. I think Will Campbell could be considered one of those top guys with, like, Ashton Genty and Mason Graham and Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Like, one of those, like, really big just studs. At number 10, to the Bears. Now, I've been a little bit conflicted about this pick because I have a sleeper pick that I really want to go just because it's fun, and we've seen something like this happen recently, and it ended up working out very well for a team that is in their division. But you could go with some things here. You could go back to offensive line, which I don't think that they're going to do. I think that they worked on offensive line a lot in free agency. They got a bunch of great offensive linemen in free agency. They've completely rebuilt that O-line from being one of the worst O-lines in football to now one of the best O-lines in football. And they did that because I think that in the draft at pick 10, they wanted to have the versatility to be able to pick whoever they wanted, and they didn't. I think they did that because, one, they needed to rebuild their O-line, obviously, but I also think that they wanted to have the freedom to pick, a fun position player or, a good edge rusher or something like that. So I do think that in play here is one of two things. I think that an edge rusher is in play here to pair along with Montez Sweat and just to bulk up that defense even more. They're in a great division with some great offenses. But I also think what's in play here is a running back. And you might be saying, Ashton Genty just went to the Raiders. And I think that if the Raiders do not end up picking Ashton Genty, which I don't really know what they might go. They could go McMillan. They can maybe go somewhere on defense, the Raiders. But if Ashton Genty does fall to number 10 to the Bears, I think it's a no-brainer pick. But even with Ashton Genty off the board, I'm going to go with another running back who, in my opinion, is one of the best running backs who is the certified second best running back in this draft. He's a great player. He's a great running back. And this whole thing reminds me a lot of another scenario that happened just 2 years ago. And I'm going to go with Marion Hampton out of North Carolina. He is the certified second best running back in this draft. There was a lot of hype and there was some talk of some teams having him as the RB1 in this draft, which is a little bit crazy, but Marion Hampton is a great running back. He's a great power back. He's a great receiving back. And this situation reminds me of the Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs situation 2 years ago. Bijan Robinson obviously was the best running back in that draft class, and the Falcons got him at pick 7. But then you saw the Lions, who ended up trading back a couple spots. They ended up picking Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 12, and that was considered, a lot of people on draft night was saying that was very dumb, very stupid, because one, the running back value at the time, and still even a little bit today, isn't extremely high, but also because Jahmyr Gibbs was projected to be a late first-round pick. That was where he was projected to go. He was projected to go in the late first round, and that's been the talk with Marion Hampton. You know, a lot of people's had Marion Hampton go later in the draft, or maybe later in the first round, or maybe even early second round. But I think Omarion Hampton is extremely talented, and I think that the Bears would be very comfortable and fine with not even taking a reach. I think that they'd be very fine with drafting him here at 10. This team has good receivers. They rebuilt their O-line. Their defense is solid. And they also got a new head coach in Ben Johnson, who is the main reason why I'm making this pick is because of him. You saw what Ben Johnson was able to do with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery last year. He loves the running game. Obviously, he is an incredible offensive coordinator, but he loves the run game so much. And I think that he would be just fine with going out and drafting Marion Hampton at 10, even if this is considered a reach, which at the end of the day, the Jahmyr Gibbs pick was considered a reach. And now he's one of the best running backs in the league, and no one's even batting an eye at that pick anymore. But I think he would be just fine with going to Marion Hampton here. I think he could work very well in this offense with Caleb Williams. And, I mean, this is a pick that maybe not a lot of people have, but it's something that I am a little confident in. I think that this is a lot more possible than what people think, especially with me not doing any trades. But, yeah, I think that this would be a very fun pick. And, yeah, going over to number 11 with the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I've been on here for a little bit. I have the Niners going out and getting a corner in this draft. Obviously, they lost Travarius Ward. They lost Hufanga. You look at who the Niners have lost in free agency. They have lost a ton of players in free agency, and I think that they go in this draft, go out and get a guy who has risen in draft boards a lot. And instead of getting someone who's kind of fallen a little bit, this guy was projected to be one of the top picks, and I still think that he could be the pick here. But I'm going to go with the guy who's risen up draft boards a lot. He had a great combine. He had some great interviews, great pro day, everything like that. And I'm going to go with Jahdae Barron at number 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Will Johnson most of the time would be the pick here, but Will Johnson has started to, day by day just kind of just fall down draft boards based on his attitude, his mentality. His interviews didn't go great. And he also didn't participate at the combine, which, again, is going to affect you. But Jahdae Barron's been skyrocketing. Corner from Texas, very speedy, very great corner. And I think that the Niners want to start that defense rebuild with Jahdae Barron just get Jahdae Barron, just get that defense right with Jahdae Barron. And I think that Will Johnson could maybe be the pick here, but I'm not sure. The next pick is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if this is the way that the draft falls for Dallas, I think that they're going to be a little bit upset because obviously going into the draft, Dallas was expected to get Ashton Genty. That was like the bread and butter home run pick that everyone had. But as it stands right now and what the draft board's looking like right now, I think that they go one of two things. I think they go offensive line to replace Zach Martin and just also beef up that O-line for Dak or whoever the quarterback might be in the future. Or I have them going to Torrey McMillan and getting a receiver to pair up with CeeDee Lamb because they did lose Brandon Cooks. I don't think that they're in a great spot receiver-wise. But as it stands right now, I'm going to have the Cowboys taking Armand Membu. He is a stud. He had an insane combine. One of like the greatest combine performances by an offensive lineman in history. And I think that Dallas would be very happy to get him at 12. Now I know a lot of Cowboys fans want to go the splash pick like the Torrey McMillan or the Bijan Robinson or the Ashton Genty or the Omarion Hampton. But at the end of the day, this is Jerry Jones running the team, and I think, and not that the Membu pick is bad. I think that the Membu pick is actually an amazing pick, and I think that they should be very happy. But I know how Cowboys fans can get with not getting the flashiest pick. But Membu, an amazing pick, and I think it just makes too much sense. Next up at 13, we've got the Miami Dolphins, and I think that this pick is a little obvious. I think that O-line is 100% in play here, and I think that they're gonna go with Kelvin Banks. They're gonna go with Kelvin Banks, tackle from Texas. Some people have had him kind of falling down draft boards a little bit. I still think that he's a great player. Still think he has a great future and very big upside. And again, with Tron Armstead possibly retiring, you're going to want to get to his protection, and you're going to want to get that franchise tackle for him. At 14, we've got the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to have the Colts going with Tyler Booker, who is the guard out of Alabama. He has been skyrocketing in drafts. He had an amazing combine, had some great interviews. I remember like in one of his media interviews to the public, he was saying like, yeah, I just want to like ruin other people's day. Like I want to make people not have fun playing football. And as an offensive lineman, I mean, that's the mentality that you're gonna want to have. And Tyler Booker at 14, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that Colston Loveland, the tight end from Texas, is the tight end from Michigan. I think that he's in play here. But I think that they really want Tyler Warren. I don't think that they're going to want to maybe reach on Colston Loveland. And I think Tyler Booker just makes a lot of sense. He's risen in a lot of drafts, and I really like this player a lot. I didn't really like him at the beginning of draft season, but I've really come to love him a lot recently. At 15, we've got the Atlanta Falcons. I think that this is a very obvious position. I've seen people pick corner. I've seen people pick receiver. I just don't see it, to be honest. This team needs an edge rusher. This team needs somebody that can get to the quarterback, especially after losing Grady Jarrett. And I think that this pick is going to be Mike Green out of Marshall. Amazing player. Had one of the best seasons at Marshall, one of the best seasons by an edge rusher this year. Did it at Marshall. Great year, great player. He has some off-the-field concerns, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to matter for them. I think Atlanta goes Mike Green, an amazing player, and I think he makes a big impact on day one. With the Cardinals at 16, I'm going to have them going with, I don't know. They can go in some different directions here. I'm going to have the Cardinals go with a corner. I'm going to have them go with Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson, again, he's a great player. He just is kind of falling down draft boards a little bit. He was projected to be like a top 10 pick guaranteed, but I think that Jahdae Barron is starting to kind of beat him in that race. Will Johnson's still a great player. I think that the Cardinals could go O-line. I think that they could go D-line. I think that they go edge, or I think they can go corner. But I'm just going to have them going corner. I think Will Johnson's too talented of a player for him to fall this far. Next up, the Bengals is 17. I'm going to have the Bengals going. I'm going to have the Bengals going with Shamar Stewart, which I would be very upset at, obviously, as a Ravens fan. But Shamar Stewart, the edge out of Texas A&M. And I'm doing this mainly because as of right now, again, next week that this could change. My opinion tomorrow could change. But as of right now, as it stands, Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M, he's amazing. He's very good, had an amazing combine. And I think that this is the pick here. And I say that mainly because of the combine. He's kind of risen above a lot of the other edges in this draft. But I also say this because of the Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson stuff. The Trey Hendrickson situation is something to monitor. How Trey Hendrickson is apparently standing 10 toes down, and he is not going to play this year if he doesn't get that extension. And he also requested a trade and everything. And it's just not going well in Cincinnati. I think that Cincinnati made up its mind. They paid T. Higgins. They paid Jamar Chase all that money. They got their guys on offense ready. I obviously don't think that offense is the pick here at all. They're going to go out and get Shamar Stewart, who could be someone and can be that very great, generational edge rusher for them to kind of balance out the offense and defense. Because right now, the offense is amazing, but the defense is not great at all. Next, we got the Seattle Seahawks. And this pick, again, Mike Macdonald, head coach. We know Mike Macdonald very well, former defensive coordinator for the Ravens. Love you, Mike. Wish you stayed. Again, I'm really happy for Mike that he got the job in Seattle again. He had a great year last year with them. Almost took them to the playoffs. But the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to have them go with... I'm going to have them go with an edge, and I'm going to have them go with James Pierce Jr. I think that, again, Mike Macdonald, he loves his defense. You saw last year he got Byron Murphy. He didn't play too much last year. I think he was hurt for most of the year. But I think that they're going to go and get just a guy off the edge who can be a stud. James Pierce Jr., a guy who is projected to be a top 3 pick in the draft going into this college football season. He did have a pretty disappointing year, which caused him to fall down here, but he does have a lot of upside, and the mentality and the interviews that he had, saying how he is ready to prove a lot of people wrong, is very, very interesting to me. So I think James Pierce is a great pick here. I think that Mike Macdonald can get his confidence fully in place, and I think that he can unlock a lot of potential in James Pierce Jr., and I think that this pick just makes a lot of sense. At 19... Pick 19, I'm going to go with one of my favorite picks in this draft, one of my favorite players in this draft, and a pick that I have been doing for quite a while, and I still think that it's going to happen. Where is it? I'm going to go with Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. He is a Swiss Army knife to a T, the definition of a Swiss Army knife. He can come off the edge. He can drop back. He's very physical. He's a great player, an amazing player. And I think that he could fit in very well with this team. Obviously, some players on defense here are pretty old. And there's a lot of talent on this Buccaneers team. But Jahad Campbell, I think he can slide in, be that man in the middle, be that guy. Just be that guy. I think he's a spectacular player. I think that he has a chance to be one of the best and better middle linebackers for a very long time. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. I think if they don't go Jahad Campbell, I think that edge is also in play, but I'm not going to go edge because they did sign Hassan Reddick. We'll see how that goes, but I think Jahad Campbell just makes a lot of sense, and I love this pick. At pick 20 with the Denver Broncos, I think that the Broncos are a prime trade-up team. I think that they could possibly trade up with someone in the draft if they see someone falling, but I'm gonna go someone for this team, and someone that did fall a very long way for them is Tatoria McMillan. Someone who I was thinking about picking maybe at 6 for the Raiders. But if you look at all these other teams, I mean, none of these teams are receiver needy except for like Dallas. But I think Membu is just too good of a talent to pass up on. But you look at like Miami and Indianapolis, Atlanta, Arizona, obviously Cincinnati, Seattle. Like all these teams like aren't necessarily like super receiver heavy. And I think Tatoria McMillan, and this is the thing that I'll say, Tatoria McMillan, again, people have him as the receiver 1 in this draft, and so do I. Obviously, Travis Hunter, you can look at him as a corner or a receiver, but Tatoria McMillan, I think that he is the best pure receiver in this draft. And look, great players fall. I'm not necessarily saying that Torrey McMillan is bad. I'm just saying that great players fall, and if there's teams that have bigger needs than receiver, I don't think any of these teams are going to like end up not reaching, but I don't think that they're going to pick McMillan over a need that they really need, like defense for a lot of these teams before them. But Torrey McMillan going to the Broncos, if I was a Broncos fan and if I was in the Broncos organization, I would be jumping up and down because this pick is amazing. You pair up Torrey McMillan with Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix. It's a great offense. I think that if Omarion Hampton does fall here, I think that he is the pick here. But again, I had Omarion Hampton going to the Bears. But yeah, Torrey McMillan makes a lot of sense. They need receiver. They need position player. They focused on their defense a lot again in this draft. Their defense looks like a top 3, top 5 defense in football. And they go out and get Torrey McMillan, an amazing pick. Next up, we've got the Steelers here at pick 21. And I think that this can go one of two ways. I think that they can go with the player that would help them right now. And I think that guy could be a D lineman like a Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan, or maybe even a Derek Carman. Or they're going to go out and get their quarterback for the future, which is what I'm going to have them do. I'm going to have them going with Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. And I think as of right now, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm saying that because Aaron Rodgers has not signed yet with the team. And obviously Pittsburgh is the team that he's most expected to sign with. But it's a little concerning to me that Aaron Rodgers has not signed yet with anywhere. And Pittsburgh really doesn't even have their quarterback yet. So again, as of right now, 6:08 p.m. on March 31st, 2025, I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. I'm going to have them going with their quarterback of the future. I think that even if they do sign Aaron Rodgers, that Jackson Dart is still the guy. I think wherever Aaron Rodgers signs, it's just going to be for 1 year. Jackson Dart learned behind Aaron Rodgers. And then next year, Jackson Dart's the quarterback for Pittsburgh. I think Jackson Dart's very good. Some people have him over Shedeur Sanders. But I think that this just makes too much sense. Pittsburgh gets their quarterback. If they already signed Aaron Rodgers like a couple weeks ago or whatever, this would make, like, I probably wouldn't go Jackson Dart, but it's a little alarming that it's taking this long for Pittsburgh to get their quarterback, so I think Jackson Dart is the move here. Next up at 22, I'm going to go with a guy from Michigan, a guy who played for Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to go with Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Colston Loveland, again, he's an amazing player, amazing tight end. And, I mean, yeah, some people had him going really high up. Like, I was maybe thinking about picking him for the Colts here. But Colston Loveland, he's an amazing player. He's going to be a day one guy who's going to go out there and help. And the Chargers do need that offensive help for Justin Herbert. Again, they signed Najee Harris. They have Ladd McConkey. You know, they have some receivers on offense, but I think adding Colston Loveland, adding a Michigan guy with Jim Harbaugh coaching, it just makes a lot of sense. Then at 23, we got the Green Bay Packers. And I think that this could be one of two things. I think they can go corner here, or I think that they're going to go receiver, but Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron are gone, and I'm not sure that they're going to go corner anymore. So I'm actually going to have the Packers going with receiver, and I'm going to have them drafting Matthew Golden out of Texas. And again, we know what combines can do for people. Even though Matthew Golden, going into this whole draft process before the combine, he was projected to be a certified day 2 pick, but I'm going to have Matthew Golden go at 23. I'm going to have him go over guys like Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka, just because I think his 40 time is going to pop out to a lot of people. And I think that, again, combines can raise you in ways and raise players significantly. Like, there's a lot of players on here who got raised a lot because of their combine performance, such as like a Jahdae Barron and a Membu and Tyler Warren and Will Johnson dropping because of that, and Shamar Stewart, like guys like that. And you look at like a guy like you look at like guys in the past who rise. Like obviously Xavier Worthy, he rose a lot because of the 40 time he had. Matthew Golden obviously ran the fastest 40 in the draft this year. I mean, and I think that he's a great receiver, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Green Bay needs to go receiver. I think that they go Matthew Golden, they get their over the top guy, and they just move forward with that. Then at 24, you got Minnesota. I think that this is one of two players who are the same position. I think they're going to go safety. I think they want to get that certified safety stud in the back. And I think they're going to go with Nick Emanuari, another player whose combine completely rose him. He had one of the best individual combine days in the draft. And I mean, he played amazing. I mean, his combine was insane. He's a freak in nature. He's very similar to like a Kyle Hamilton-like player, except he's more of a ball hawk than Kyle Hamilton was. But Nick Emanuari going to the Vikings, I think it's a great pick, especially with Harrison Smith getting a lot older. And it just makes a lot of sense. The Texans at 25. I'm going to have the Texans go. I'm going to have them go offensive line. Actually, interesting. I'm going to actually have the Texans go with Emeka Egbuka, the Ohio State receiver. CJ Stroud, Ohio State alumni. Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State alumni. You get them, you pair them up again. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the Texans need receiver help. I also think that they need offensive line help, but I don't. And look, if they go a guy like Josh Simmons or Gray Zabel, it'll make a lot of sense. I'm not going to complain. But as of right now, I'm just going to have them going to Emeka Egbuka. We're going to make things a little bit fun. The Rams at 26. I'm going to have the Rams go offensive line. I'm going to have them taking Josh Simmons, someone who was hurt. You couldn't get a lot of info on, but I think he's still a great tackle. I think that, and again, I'll say this again. I think every single team in this first round is going to end up leaving with a player that is extremely talented. I think that this draft class has the ability to be one of the best draft classes we've seen in recent years. I think everyone in the first round is going to walk out with a stud, and there's going to be a lot of great players who fall to like day 2 or maybe even day 3. But Josh Simmons going to the Rams makes a lot of sense. Got to protect Stafford. The Ravens at pick 27. Now, there is a lot of great players that I would love for the Ravens to go here. Again, a guy like Walter Nolan, a guy like Kenneth Grant. Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant. I'm looking at Malachi Starks. I'm looking at all these guys. I'm looking at Gray Zabel even. I'm looking at Michael Williams. But I'm going to have the Ravens picking... I don't know. I mean, you could go D-line. You could go safety. I mean, I'm really looking at D-line and safety right now for them right now. I'm going to have the Ravens in this mock draft. I'm going to have them going with Walter Nolan. I think that safety's in play. Obviously, the Ravens use a lot of 3 safety formats. But I think a guy like Walter Nolan, and him or Kenneth Grant... I mean, those are 2 incredible players, and I think Walter Nolan's just too good to pass up on at this point. Again, if they went Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, or Malachi Starks, or a guy like Michael Williams, I would be happy with any of those guys. And again, I trust Eric DeCosta to make the right decision when it comes to the draft. He's made so many great selections, especially in the first round in recent years, and just in general. I'm gonna see them going Walter Nolan. I would be freaking out if this was the pick. I mean, this would immediately help, obviously, with the Michael Pierce retirement. You get that big D tackle guy up there in the trenches. You saw how important the trenches were for the Eagles on their Super Bowl run. And I think that this is an obvious pick. But you could also go Malachi Starks. Next up with the Detroit Lions, I'm going to have them going with Michael Williams. He's an amazing edge rusher from Georgia. I think you pair him up. I think they're going to lose to Darius Smith. I think you pair him up with Aiden Hutchinson and just create a deadly duo. With Washington at pick 29, I'm going to have Washington picking offensive line. Actually, no. I'm going to have Washington picking a edge rusher. And I'm going to have them picking Donovan Izakaru out of Boston College. I'm going to have them picking him. He's a great player. He's a guy where a lot of people have him going late first round, early second round. I think that the Commanders are on a little bit of like a house money type thing. Obviously, they help their O-line with Laremy Tunsil. I think that O-line is still in play maybe for them. But I think that anything on the defense is going to work out. I think that they could go edge. I think they could go deep tackle. But I think that they want to try and get their edge. And I think Donovan Izaraku can be very valuable for them. Next up, the Bills at pick 30. I'm going to have the Bills drafting Malachi Starks. I think that they want to have that really stud safety in the back. I think that they want to lock down, especially their secondary. And I think Malachi Starks, again, this whole first round is filled with talent. Guys like Malachi Starks falling down to 30. There's going to be players who I'm not going to have picked in the first round who are still going to be amazing. I mean, everybody in this first round is very good. But Malachi Starks at pick 30 to Buffalo makes a lot of sense. I would be very upset if this happens just because, I mean, Buffalo is very good. But, I mean, all these great teams are going to end up getting some great players. The Kansas City Chiefs at pick 31. I'm going to have them going Gray Zabel. I'm going to have them going getting their tackle. Again, they re-signed Trey Smith. But I do think that he is a prime candidate of leaving soon. And we'll see what happens with that. But I think Gray Zabel makes a lot of sense. And then next up, Philadelphia at pick 32. I'm going to have them going out and getting Kenneth Grant, the Milton Williams replacement. We've got our entire first round here. It's looking nice. It's looking great. And, I mean, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Love the draft so far. And, yeah, we're going to be doing another Mock Draft Monday next Monday. Every single week we're going to be doing Mock Draft Mondays leading up until the draft. But, yeah, I mean, I like the way that this draft looks. It's going to look different next week, I guarantee you it, and it's going to look different the week after that. Just as more news happens, I mean, more things are going to change. And that is going to be it for this episode of Birds of a Feather. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a little bit longer of an episode, over an hour long, or almost an hour long. But yeah, Birds of a Feather, episode 5. Again, I'm having a great time doing this. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe if you want. If you're listening on Spotify, follow up on the channel. I would greatly appreciate all of the support. I'm having a great time doing this. Orioles are off tomorrow, and we'll see if there's any news. I'm going to be doing a episode tomorrow. It might not be as long as today. It might not be super long because there's going to be no Orioles games, but hopefully we'll see some more Baltimore news, and we'll talk about something. Again, even on days that there's not much going on, we're still going to find things to talk about. Again, this is an everyday Baltimore sports podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for all the support, and I'll catch you all in the next one.